The Bliss Business Podcast, the show about empathy, connection, and consciousness in business. Today's episode is brought to you by Zero Company, your paid search, social media, and programmatic ad experts.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Stephen Sakach with my co-host Mike Liwski and our special guest today, who we'll introduce in a second. So companies built purely on profit often lose their edge when culture and connection and community are not prioritized. But when business serves people, purpose, and place, that performance often follows. So today we're going to dive into how conscious capitalism can transform industries, drive meaning, and build brands that matter. Mike, introduce our guest today.
Steve, I'm absolutely delighted to. With us today is Rachel Fine-Wilson. She's the founder and CEO of Gigglewaters. Love the name. Now, Rachel has built a unique hospitality brand that really blends immersive experience with thoughtful community engagement, which we're really about on this show. And with that, has led to a lot of franchise growth. Now, with more than a decade of experience of in business management and franchising and education sectors, she now leads Gigglewaters in redefining how brands connect, lead, and scale, which we know our audience is really going to want to hear about. So, Rachel, we are so thankful to have you on the show. Welcome to our show today.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So Rachel, you're operating kind of this intersection of hospitality and entertainment, and then now you're on this franchise development kind of journey. And I know our audience we've had franchises from all different stages, so they love hearing about the challenges at different stages. So I hope we get into that. But first I want to ask, so how do you define conscious capitalism in the context of a brand like Gigglewaters?
I think the first time I heard the phrase conscious capitalism, it took my breath away because it summed up my belief in running a business. And that is that you can do well and do good at the same time. And that's my focus. So I think it doesn't matter what sector you're in, there is something that you have to contribute. For me, it's food, right? You look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and food is right there at the bottom, food and shelter. That's what people need immediately to survive. And we have that. And so I can utilize that in ways that are needed by the community. And that's my focus all the time.
Yeah, I love that. And there are times, and there have been times in the history of your business where people are really in need of that. And even right now, can you talk a little bit about some of those kind of moments where?
Yeah, I mean, just from the beginning, when we started a program called Giggles for Good. And it was just an initiative of what can we do? How can we help in our community? And that's truly a core value that I hold, that my father really instilled in me. He not only ran restaurants, but is a mental health counselor and a first responder who is on site when there is a crisis. He was on site. He counseled 1,100 people the first week after 9/11. He was on site after Hurricane Katrina. He is there in the trenches with people when something happens. So that's kind of the background that I come from. So when we opened this restaurant, my father and I together, along with my husband, we looked at how we could help. And so we launched the Giggles for Good program. Gigglewaters has this little movie theater in the back. I'm sure we'll get to that, but it's an immersive, fun experience. But we looked at how could we utilize this movie theater to help organizations raise money and how could we utilize this as a tool for good? So it started there. We would let 501c3s rent our theater for free, give them the ticket sales, give them percentage of food, help them. They could give out collateral and run 50-50 raffles, things like that. And we ended up helping over the years, 119 individual 501c3s
Wow.
use it as a platform for them to raise money. So that was the easiest. That's where we kicked off from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was the Australia wildfires were really in the news a few years ago. And I had some family in Australia and I thought, oh my God, how do we help them? Could we do something? And we took a weekend and we said, yeah, let's show Crocodile Dundee and let's grill shrimp on the Barbie outside and let's do cocktails. And we spent a whole weekend and we raised thousands of dollars for Australian wildlife that had been displaced by these fires. And we thought, we're onto something. We can find ways. This is really cool. Like, let's just pay attention to the news and see where people need help and help them. And it's spilled over in a lot of different directions. Because we're a movie theater, that's a big part of what we do. When a beloved celebrity passes away, we'll show their movies and we'll donate all the proceeds to wherever their family has, said cancer research or wherever, is relevant to their case. COVID took things to a completely different level and really wrote on the slate of who we are. We had to close the doors, obviously, and we were just a week into franchising. We had just finalized our FDD, we were hitting the ground right, and then the whole world fell apart, right?
Yeah.
And so I sat there, anxious as hell, with a kitchen full of food, and thinking about who we are and how we help, and thought, okay, what do we do? And so we started delivering that food to everywhere we could, to COVID testing sites, to hospitals, to police stations, fire stations, paramedics. Literally every day, I just said, I've got 3 of us I tried to keep my full-time team employed at that time. Let's cook some food and bring it somewhere, and let's share that message. And anyone who's sitting at home and wants to contribute and buy a meal, we can find a way to do that. And we stayed in business. We did it for under cost, but to be able to get food out to where it was needed and kind of just give a big hug to people and say, hey, we're thinking about you at this testing site and at this essential break room. And hey, we just want to say thank you for what you're doing for the world right now. And it became my full-time life for that year. We just brought food everywhere.
I mean, that's going to change you. That's going to change you. Just permanently going through something like that, right?
Yeah.
It did. It really, really wrote on the slate of who we are as a company, because it was all we did full time. And from there, as people went back to school, we thought, okay, let's talk about teachers. Let's do a food for thought push. How do we support teachers and tell them thank you? And just how can we send love to people via food, which is a way people are very receptive to being loved, right?
Yeah.
So from there, we paused on franchising for a minute because it just didn't feel like it was the right moment in time, and said, instead, why don't we build out a food truck? And why don't we equip it for disaster relief? Why don't we really think through what kind of a truck, where can we put the propane tanks that would make it easier to get into disaster zones? Can we put screens on the front so that if we needed to show information that was relevant? Could we do external charging stations? So if someone needed to plug in their phone and get a charge, we would have an ability to do that off our generators. And so from there, we launched our first Giggle truck, we call it, the Gigglewaters food truck, a mobile kitchen that could serve up to 2,000 people a day. We were able to use that last fall here in Florida when we were really devastated by 2 back-to-back hurricanes. Milton, we were out of work and out of power for a week. It was truly terrible in this area. And we were able to feed 9,370 people in communities directly in need via our food truck, in partnership with World Central Kitchen. So it was a way to do what we're doing in a bigger scale. Outside that, every year we do our Frontline Thanksgiving. We partner with a restaurant behind us that's a dear friend, and we bring food to every paramedic who's in our area that's working on Thanksgiving. We just look for those opportunities. I can tell you the neatest thing that's happening right at this moment, with SNAP benefits being paused and up in the air right now. This is no different than anything I've done before. During the shutdown, we did free lunches for anyone who was unemployed. We look for ways all the time. But I posted and said, no child should be hungry. The situation is complicated. Feeding a kid is not. Let's get bagged lunches ready and give them to kids if they're hungry. And so we put a post up about it, and it blew up. It just blew up in a way that I haven't had any of these initiatives in the past. And one by one, restaurants said, us too. We saw Gigglewaters post, us too. We're going to do it too.
You're leading by example there. And like for people, I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but right now the government's been shut down for a few weeks, and there are the SNAP benefits. I think they impact about 42 million Americans. So this is kind of a real problem. But I love that, you kind of stepped into that vacancy, as best you can. But others are saying, hey, we can help too.
We've got at least 24 restaurants in our area who have stepped up and said, we're going to do the same thing Gigglewaters is doing. If you're a kid who's hungry, stop by, no purchase necessary, free lunch. And we're doing it for as long as this happens. Until this SNAP situation is resolved, we will figure out a way to do it. And now I'm fielding calls from other cities. I got a call from Orlando yesterday saying, hey, from the chef saying, what are you guys putting in your bags? How do I structure this? Are you wanting logistical, information? And it has just become a movement. And that is the coolest thing we've done so far.
That is amazing.
Very positive movement. Yeah, in fact, in prep for the show, I had read a little bit about what you had done during COVID. So I was kind of looking forward to hearing a little bit more about it. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you will reap what you sow for sure. Now, speaking of conscious capitalism, Rachel, we know that purpose is probably like the first pillar around that. And on this show, we love to talk about the importance of purpose and having a purpose. And in fact, we were blessed not too long ago, maybe 2 or 3 shows ago, to actually have Raj Sisodia, one of the founders of Conscious Capitalism, on the show. And for our listeners, if you haven't seen that or heard that episode, you maybe go back and listen to it. But Rachel, when it comes to purpose and putting people first, I'm really kind of curious, one, what can you do for the benefit of our audience? What do you think is the importance of purpose? And then maybe from there, we can kind of delve into like how you maintain purpose and a people first kind of thought or approach when you're trying to scale the business and getting into franchising, because certainly it's something that could get lost pretty easily.
Absolutely. I think for us, we've distilled it down to 5 core values that we hold as a company, right? So first is care about community, genuine care about the people in our community. Next is show up when it matters. What we do and what we say are the same thing. Sweat the small stuff, and positive influencers. Those are the 5 core values of Gigglewaters, and it's something that is just true to who I am as a person and the kind of business that we run. We actively hire, coach, train, and terminate based on those core values. So that's, I think, to me, culture is an active noun, right? Like, what are we doing to create this, or active verb rather, what are we doing to create this culture? And I think to me, it's laying out exactly who we are in concrete ways and looking at, hey, this person is really struggling with being a positive influencer. How do we get them back on board? Or is this not the right fit for them, right? Like, these are, without these pieces, without these 5, if you're not going to show up when we need you and when it matters and the team is struggling, if you're not going to pay attention to the details and you're going to let things get sloppy, or whatever those factors are, if you can't work within those core values, it may not be the right fit, and that's okay, right? So you want to, I want to surround myself, and I want my team to surround themselves with people who really embody those values and who can grow and develop and become the best that they can be through that. So I think it's a focus, a specific focus that we have to just stay true to the course to those values.
Yeah. I love the point there around training and having it really reach in terms of like every part of your operations and your process. I'm kind of curious too, in terms of like when you mentioned earlier about, when you heard conscious capitalism, it was a very wonderful phrase. What were some of those early moments, would you say, that kind of shaped your commitment to, hey, this is the way that we want to do business? Like, we want to, follow this conscious capitalism type movement or philosophy?
I think that the more you help, the more you want to help, right? Like, the second that I can show up and give someone a hot meal who is in crisis or is struggling or just needs someone to say, hey, thank you for what you're doing, it is a drug. It is addictive. It is a really good feeling. It feels good to feel good, right? Like, it feels good to help people, and the outpouring of support from the community who appreciate what we do and in turn support us because of it. It's a really beautiful symbiotic relationship. And so I think once you get a little taste of that drug, you chase the dragon, right? You look for ways to continue to feel fulfillment in that regard.
With that dopamine hit. Yeah, for sure.
It is. Listen,
it builds joy.
Restaurants are a grind, man, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a grind. So you're in a little bit of a hamster wheel. And I think that, nationally, the service industry tends to be transient. It's people who are working in restaurants while they pursue their other career opportunities, right?
Sure.
And average length of stay nationally in the hospitality sector is 4 months. That's from dishwashers to management, 4 months.
Wow.
We celebrate, and we publicly celebrate, our team members at 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We have some 5-year people now, which is unheard of in hospitality. Yeah. And I think it's because they are invested in doing something more than just bringing out a burger.
Right.
We say all the time, we don't just make a burger, we make a difference. Like, this is an opportunity. When I ask for volunteers, hey, we're doing our Thanksgiving drop, who wants to do it? 1 million hands go up, right? They feel the same excitement that I do about helping. And so it gives them a purpose.
I think you hit on
make
like
a
that
burger,
key point.
You make a difference. I'm going to write that one down.
I love it.
I think you hit on that key point that for a lot of businesses, our audience trying to figure out, hey, how do I do this? It's really trying to uncover that how you serve people on a higher level, right? It's not just, giving them food, like you mentioned. It's a way to show love in a way. And I think when you realize that how you really do serve people, that's when, like you talked about, that moment where you realize it's like a conscious capitalism, or it's like a conscious business, or the business comes alive. So I love that you went right to that, because that's exactly what I've always felt, is just that one little understanding in your head there. So we've got a lot of people who are, really interested in building out their businesses, and they're even starting franchises. And what I'm wondering is, we know, like you mentioned, how you have like loyalty, customer loyalty and employee retention, because of some of the things you're doing, because of the purpose and meaning you're putting into your work. What kind of systems or cultural practices at Gigglewaters kind of reinforce your community approach or your connection as you grow, that other business leaders could kind of maybe, use or borrow or straight up steal from you?
By all means, the more stealing, the better.
The more stealing, the better as well.
I think we've fostered an environment on our internal communication, chat, scheduling tools, things like that, where we all talk to each other in different groups, where people will post, hey, this is happening in the world. Can we help? Hey, Jamaica, do we have a cocktail? Can we raise some money for an organization? Hey, so I have not me, but 60 employees constantly looking at the world and asking first, how can Gigglewaters help? And that's really cool. So we get to choose between, yes, that's a great idea. Yes, let's do that. Let's focus on that. We're going to start with Jamaica and we're going to go into this next quarter, or whatever it is. We find ways to help. So I think from a systemic perspective, it doesn't have to sit with you. You don't have to be the owner of all of the good that you do, right? You have a team, and open it up and talk to them and come up with ideas. And there's no bad idea. There's either something we can do now or we can't do now, or this is how we could do it. Let's approach it from this direction. And as you do it, good begets good, right? So even now, as we're giving free lunches to kids, someone mentioned in the comments, well, what about disabled adults? And I said, put a pin in that. Let's talk about that in a couple of weeks, because you're right. Let's figure out a way to help them too. So you have to be receptive to the ideas and not defensive or protective of the ideas, and get your team involved. I mean, I think that's the first thing. Yeah,
I always say it's so much better when, it's not just like the CEO holding the torch on something, but you got your whole team holding the torch on something. That there's no Absolutely. Way you can replace that. So that I understand that's what makes it that huge difference. And then kind of what you described is that psychological safety for people to be able to step into that and, feel empowered and be able to throw an idea out there, and, no matter how it lands, not going to feel bad about putting something out there.
That's huge, is making it, you have to be okay. You have to create an environment in which people are comfortable failing, or saying stupid things, or coming up, what I mean? You have to make it comfortable. I had a teacher in college, I remember, who, when we'd screw something up, he would make us all celebrate. He would say, we failed. And we'd all, yeah, failed. And you started to feel comfortable just being dumb in front of people, or having dumb ideas. It's okay. And so instead of, I think there's so much ego that protects us constantly, where we don't want to look less than our staff or less competent. There are things that my staff absolutely outshines me at, and great, thank you for being here, right? I think there are so many CEOs who put themselves on this protective little ego pedestal in which they have to keep the ideas down because they feel threatened or insecure in themselves, right? And so I think that if you can make it comfortable for people to come to the table as their best selves, because they want to be there and they want to contribute, and they know you'll hear them at every point. I think that's step one.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're never going to know if that idea is a genius idea, right? If they just have to keep it inside. And it kind of reminded me almost of we had the founder of WD-40 on as well, and I mean, the reason it was called WD-40 is because formulas 1 through 39 didn't end up working, right? But then through all that failure, they learned and eventually got to 40. So
I love that.
Really, really important, obviously, to have a culture where failure is okay. And so, Rachel, now that you're trying to build a much bigger system when it comes to a franchise system, wanted to discuss a little bit more about maintaining that culture of care and that community, and even the conscious leadership. So how do you ensure really that the franchisees across all the different regions and locations can maintain that culture of care? I know you mentioned the values a little bit earlier. Is that a big part of it? Are there other things that you've put in place to help maintain the consistency of that culture of care, community, and also conscious leadership?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's one that I can answer more theoretically than I can in actuality, because we're still growing, we're still emerging, right?
Yeah.
However, I look very much at the same way that I look for alignment on those core values to employees, I look towards franchisees. And there have been a couple I've met with that I've felt like not the right fit for us. This is not right. You got to find the people who are your people.
That's right.
In one of my past lives, past jobs, I was a vice president of U.S. operations for an international education franchise, doing turnaround with underperforming Zs and dealing with Zs who were really mismatched to the system that they were in. And despite my best efforts, we're going to go market, we're going to clean up operations, we're going to do all the things that should turn you around. If you're not the right fit, you're not the right fit. Sometimes that's the case, right?
Yeah.
And so I've wanted to be really selective in that process. Step one is really trying to find people that align, that and the work that we do, I'm not shy or quiet about it. I talk about it loudly and look from that to attract people that share the same kind of goals and missions, right? So I'm looking for those kinds of people, looking for them to see us and for what we do to resonate with them. And then I think a lot of it can be done. Part of it is a mindset, is just constantly, when I'm hearing the news, I'm always thinking, how can we help? How can we help? That's just a mindset that I have. And so that can be taught to some extent, but if it's something that is of value that person shares. But I think there are some things that can be coordinated from regional perspectives, statewide perspectives. We want to be able to respond to disasters in any area. And that's my long-term goal, to be able to get a truck on the road to wherever it needs to be to feed people in need. So I think it's a combination of training people to look for ways to help first, and secondarily to finding people that align with their goals.
Yeah, that'd be kind of an interesting franchise growth, is looking for areas where there's common disasters repeatedly. It's like how we can help.
I haven't considered that, but the benefit of the mobile region.
I know, I'm just thinking about that all.
We can get there.
Yeah, I can get there, because like California, we have the wildfires and stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, we did for the Maui wildfires. We raised money. We do a lot too if we can't get there physically, because that's not always feasible. Right now in Florida with hurricanes, it's been very quiet. I want to knock on all the wood this year in Florida, not Jamaica. They just went through hell. But
yeah.
But generally, otherwise, we're not going to be able to get there. But we have a bar, and we have specialty cocktails and featured cocktails that is award-winning, and we can take one at a time and dedicate it towards some kind of fundraising effort. So we raised money for Maui with cocktails. We're doing Jamaica right now with cocktails. So we pick a cocktail. The Jamaican one is featuring Jamaican rums, and it's it's the One Love Mai Tai that we're doing. That money from every cocktail sold is going to go to that cause. We found a local 501c3 that has a charter plane that flies supplies into Jamaica. So it's finding a way to help from the ground and right out of my bar, right, without having to leave even.
Can you describe for people who may not have gone to the website or seen the bar, just kind of what the experience feels like, looks like? The whole aesthetic there.
Gigglewaters is a 1920s vibed restaurant, bar, and one-screen classic movie theater. We show everything from Goodfellas to Princess Bride to Die Hard every Christmas. And people eat in the dining room and bar, and then there's a separate little movie theater. The movie theater is $5 for a movie ticket. It is so much fun. You can eat and drink while you watch classic movies. It's this little 4 rows of 8, just this little intimate theater. People come in costumes. It's a ton of fun back there. It's a very, I like to play with the word entertainment. It's an immersive dining experience. Every 6 weeks, we do something called the Cinema Supper Series, where we take a beloved film and we dissect everything they eat and drink on screen, and we serve it to you live time the second it's shown up on screen. So as you're eating or drinking that food, you're eating it. It is a 10 plus.
So walk me through one of those examples.
Yeah, I mean, Pulp Fiction, there's a million, right?
Oh,
when Uma Thurman took the syringe in the heart, we had cocktails and a giant syringe. They're injecting.
Oh, wow.
We find fun ways. So our next one up is When Harry Met Sally. There's of course the diner scene with the big pastrami sandwich and their cats at Carnegie. So it's fun. We take great movies that have tons of good food cues. We just did Ghostbusters for a corporate event, and they've got a lot of moments of the last petty cash meal, or eating Chinese food. It's stuff off our menu completely. It has nothing to do with our regular food, but it is a dining experience, and it is similar to a live theater experience. There are a ton of crazy things happening at the same time. So like during Ghostbusters, when the librarian is in the library and the card catalog, they all start flying in the air, my servers run down the aisle and throw index cards over everyone, and they're coming through the air.
That's funny.
It is like this fully immersive, fun experience. It's a neat spot. It's we've won tons of culinary awards, including Best American Restaurant in the state of Florida for the past 3 years running, Best Burgers, Best Whiskey Bar in Tampa Bay. Everything is really high quality ingredients. So Wagyu beef burgers, quarter pound bacon wrapped all beef hot dogs, gourmet mac and cheeses, really craveable, delicious, ridiculous, indulgent food.
I love that. I mean, that's what I'm looking for now more is like that whole experience, when I'm going out.
I think everyone is like, you're not competing with the restaurant next door anymore. You're competing with the grocery store. And that's a fact with inflation, with costs increasing, whatever. You've got to provide a true experience and not just a great meal. The great meal is a given. I need an experience on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Try to get people out of home, right? And off that couch, because for sure you got Netflix and a lot of the other providers, and they're just going to be, entering that market and taking on the challenge. I actually had to say Royale with cheese because you can't make a Pulp Fiction food reference.
That was in there. Absolutely. Milkshake.
Sure, right?
It was a $5 steak or something, right? Too. So.
Yeah.
What do they call a cheeseburger? A Royale with cheese. Oh, that's an amazing line. As well, Rachel, with the rest of the franchisees, I'm sure you would like them to embody some of the characteristics, the qualities that you bring to the business. And so I'm kind of curious, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about the importance of leadership, having a conscious leader, and then making sure that really is transparent throughout the whole system and helping to maintain it. So what does that look like? Like, how do you lead with transparency across all these different regions so that it affects not just the culture, but even the service, right, and the operations?
I think you have to communicate. I think you have to make your why exceedingly clear, right? And so what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're helping, pictures from where we're helping, that everyone has to see and feel and touch and taste what the experience is. Right. And that's internal with my staff here at the restaurant, the location behind me. So it's true at this location. It's true with franchisees. It's true with franchising leads. It's true, like they have to understand who we are and why we are, so that they can join in and feel good about joining in, right? I think there are I have great respect for organizations who help quietly behind the scenes. I think it is beautiful and selfless and wonderful. I do it much more publicly. I do it loudly, and I do it loudly because I want to make it clear that this is a way that you can help. And I think that it begets more people wanting to do the same and wanting to be a part of that too. So I think that's where it starts, is just really clear communication of what, how, why, what we're doing, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Some people may feel a little uncomfortable doing it loudly, but really, like we just mentioned earlier in the show with the Snap thing, if you're not doing it loudly, how are you going to get, these other couple dozen businesses helping? So we've got an audience question here. Let's cue that up. All right. So Rachel, for someone wanting to start a hospitality business today, what one piece of advice would you give them?
Man, that's a tough one. I think it has to be something you're passionate about. If you are passionate, and it's funny, we were talking earlier about someone who says, I want to open a coffee shop in my retirement. If it is a true passion and you are sourcing beans and it is what you live and breathe, hospitality is all encompassing. It is the opposite of the absentee owner business, right? Like we are present. You are only kind of as good as your last meal. I can have 10 great meals with someone, and then the 11th, the fries were burned and now we have a 1-star review, right? That happens all the time in hospitality. So you have to be willing to really, really care about your guests. You have to, and their experience. You can't be angry when something doesn't go right and they're not happy with it. You have to take it as everything as an opportunity to fix it, to make it better. I am not just passionate about our food and our processes and our location, our experience, but I'm passionate about making sure that every person who comes in and spends $1 with us really feels good about that experience. And does that mean I comp things left and right? Absolutely. If we screw up, I sure do. You can't be stingy about that stuff. I want to make sure that people feel good when they left, that they feel grateful that they came in to see us. So if you're just starting, I would make sure that mindset resonates with you, because it's a really heavy lift if it doesn't. And then I would just say, you have to put one foot in front of the other towards the direction you're going. I think it's so easy from the startup perspective to look at the final product and be so overwhelmed that it's hard to take the next step towards what you're trying to get lifted, from the SBA loans to the construction, to the build out, to the permit. All of the things that have to happen to get open are daunting, right? So I think the what keeps me going is just putting what can I do today to move me towards that goal? And if I can just get to 50% in one step, I'm now closer to completion than I was to starting. So that's always my goal. Like, just keep chugging away at what it is you want to do, and just get to that 50% in one step now. And you're then the wind's at your back.
In marketing, we talk about that customer journey, and you kind of described that consumption experience, the literal consumption experience is with a restaurant. I mean, this is what you're all about. This is so important to getting those word of mouth, having that kind of advertising. That's kind of the ultimate thing where, the people who've come to your business are the ones who are telling other people about it. And so, your focus on that experience, especially in restaurant and hospitality, it's like, this is the stage, this is the experience. It has to be top, no matter what, or it's going to hurt our marketing from, top to bottom.
The best compliments I get are when someone says, this is like a Disney property, because we've thought about everything down to the detail of the plugs and on every level. I am down to that detail, because yes, you have to create that experience. And we get, what I love about hospitality, and I think that this is something that is special at Gigglewaters, is that we get to be there for really remarkable moments in people's lives, milestone moments. On one hand, we just had a celebration of life yesterday for someone who this was their favorite date spot. And his wife said, we want to have this here in your theater because this is where we love to come. And while that was, that's a sad way to look at those moments, it's also beautiful that we were a part of that we were a part of their lives. And on the other hand, last year we had a really exciting surprise proposal, and we got to help plan it with this gentleman who they were coming to see Nightmare Before Christmas, their favorite movie. And we convinced the audience that Tim Burton himself had selected this as one of a handful of theaters to screen the amazing trailer for Nightmare Before Christmas 2, the long-awaited sequel. And everyone was so excited in the audience. And so we finished the movie and we rolled to the tape, and it's this intro of Nightmare Before Christmas and the Tim Burton music and the whole experience. And then it fades into one of our audience members on screen, on camera, proposing to his girlfriend sitting next to him in the audience. And it was amazing. The whole audience is screaming.
Oh my goodness.
It was so beautiful. And so those moments are why hospitality, to me, I'm sure there are much easier lifts in franchising. You can do a cleaning company or something that is, I'm sure, much easier from not having so many moving pieces, but those moments are what keep me going. Those moments are so special.
Yeah. And in order to, you described kind of that Disneyland experience, that someone said. In order to do that, you've got that core value of sweat the small stuff. What you're going to be doing is auditing everything according to, that core value. And that's how you get there, right? It's not overnight. It's just going to be continually sweating the small stuff, right?
Yes. And training your people to have eyes. We talk about that all the time, is do you have eyes? Like, are you really, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way, do you have eyes?
No, it's eyes for these core values, right?
And eyes for the details. Like, my team will walk by and they are trained to look in the corners and to look at what's happening, because they know that I'm going to see it. They want to catch it before I see it. So everyone has eyes. Everyone has developed eyes to look and say, hey, these ceiling tiles are getting greasy in the kitchen. We need to get those down and clean them. We need, whatever it is, it's looking at those details all the time.
And not in a punitive way. I'm sure, it's just sort of like, it's coming from a good place. So
because we want to be the best we can be, 100%. It's never, punitive has never gotten me anywhere. Inspiration has, right? So no, I just want us to shine on every health inspection, and those ceiling tiles are a part of that, right? I want to know that we work clean and we work effectively, and that we really pay attention to those little details.
Absolutely. Rachel, I just want to mention something real quick for some of our listeners, or first time listeners that may not be familiar with conscious capitalism. Right, there's really those four main pillars of having a purpose or your why, having a conscious leader, taking into consideration all the stakeholders, not just shareholders or the owners, but the employees, vendors, suppliers, right? And then the last one is really about having a conscious culture. And so we talked a little bit about purpose. I was kind of curious, how did you come up with your why? Did you, sit down and have an exercise to try to identify it? Do you have a phrase that you have now? Like what is kind of, I guess, the deeper why for Gigglewaters? And
we believe in bringing people together to a place of 1,000 good times, your best night out, an experience you can't help but love. That's ours.
That's it.
That's it.
That transitions into our next question that we ask all of our guests on the show, is some form of this. It's, what role does love play in business?
I don't know how you do. I don't want to live in a world in which love isn't at the center of my business. How sad that sounds. I mean, we work our butts off. I can't imagine doing this for something I didn't love. It doesn't mean it's not hard, but it means that I feel overwhelming gratitude and honor to be a part of what I do, and with this amazing team. I feel so grateful for the people around me that share the vision that we have, and I lead with love every single day. And that not just in giving out free food to people, in sitting down with an employee who's struggling and getting him a new pair of shoes when he needs them on the dishwasher, or whatever it is. We've had I had a staff member who was homeless a few years ago, and because every Friday he would take his check and he would gamble it, and that was his choice, and we talked about it, and I provided resources, and ultimately he's an adult who can choose to do what he chooses to do. But what we could do was get him a tent and an alarm clock and a gym membership to shower and additional clothes, and help him the best we could, and resources there with an open door anytime that we could. So you look for ways to help and to lead with love in everything you do. We had another staff member, and this is in hospitality, unfortunately, we had a staff member who'd passed away, a young mom who had a problem with drugs, and we had done so much to try to help, and she had relapsed. And that night, when we got the news that she had passed away, we closed the restaurant for the night and brought in, my father came in and did grief counseling for everyone. And we held her celebration of life in the theater as well, because her family felt like this was her home. And those moments where you just realize what a family you are, that these 50, 60 people you are linking elbows with, and you are facing the world together. And the loss of one, you feel in such an internal way. And I don't know what it would be like to run a business where I didn't care. I don't have the capacity for that. I care very, very deeply about every single person who works for me, and all of the members of our community who keep us in business.
Beautiful.
That is amazing. Yeah. And I love the emphasis on really creating moments, right? And creating memories, good memories, through the work that you do. So Rachel, this has just been a wonderful conversation. We're so thankful for having you on with us today. Now, those who want to, maybe connect with you a little bit further or learn a little bit more about Gigglewaters, where would you like them to go?
If they're interested in franchising, you can go to ownagigglewaters.com. There's a lot of information there, and I'd love to connect with you. If this resonates with you and you feel like this is the kind of company that I want to open, I'd love to have that conversation. If you're a customer of Gigglewaters, you want to learn more about the experience, you can go to gigglewaters.com. You can see the menu and see the movies and the special events that we do. And we're certainly on socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. And let's leave you with these words of Rachel. Lead with love, please. And we will see you next time on the Bliss Business Podcast.